Let me explain something to you. When I won that Money in the Bank contract, I knew right away I wasn't going to get that opportunity slip. I knew that I would wait and pick my exact moment. A lot of people asked, what sort of Money in the Bank contract winner is Seamus? He never cashes in. He just waits. Is he even going to bother cashing in?
The division seems to be full of rookies and has-beens. So I'm just sitting here enjoying myself, collecting these checks on my way, eliminating each one. I don't just knock them out, I also pick the round. Drumchad's a 5'6", overblown. You know, he should be a 135er, but he's gone past that limit now. Now he's just a little small bodybuilder that's stuck in the 145 division.
The same with Cub. I believe he's aging. He looks 95 years old. I say it every time. But I would like Cub to win for the specific reason that he seems to think that he has been promised a UFC title shot if he wins this fight against Frankie. So I want him to win that contest, and then I will bake a freshly made pie and smack him clean in the face with it.
Hello everyone, this is the one and only Lord Alfred Hayes. I just wanted to thank all of you for your very inspirational letters, notes. There's some new technology coming called texting. I'm not sure I quite understand, but thank you for your texts. Unfortunately, Lord Alfred Hayes, I only use a fax machine, so only those who fax me your get well wishes I was able to read, but ladies and gentlemen, I am back in action. I am here. This is another edition of Coliseum Video, Best of the WWF, Volume 88. And I'm so pleased on this very special return edition. My wiener is healed. I'm well rested. And I'm ready to get down to business. Not the kind of business that got me into this trouble either. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce my co-host. He's going to guide you through this very epic, magical journey that is Best of the WWF, Volume 88. He is the one and only, a true performer, not a great dancer, but a very entertaining young man, a newcomer, a youngster, goes by the name of Salvatore Bellomo.
Hey, Lord Alfred, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Salvatore Bellomo, and this is true wrestling history. If you were watching wrestling back in the 80s, you might remember me as the guy who got the Caso kicked out of him by Greg the Hammer Valentine, or the guy who got his Corleone kicked in by a guy named Don Morocco. Or maybe you might remember me as the guy who got beaten into a puddle of Stronzo by Rowdy Roddy Piper. That's right, I was a jobber, a jabroni. But behind the scenes, I was helping to mold the future of professional wrestling. Let me explain myself. Back in the day, while I was getting the living Yahoo kicked out of me in the ring, behind the scenes, I was Vincent J. McMahon's top confidant, the guy who was in his ear on every decision that went on in the ring. I'm going to call him Vincent J. We just called him Vince back then because there was only one Vince, not Little Vince, not Junior. It was all we ever called him was Junior. He always looked like a puppy that had to piddle. Yeah, you could never quite tell what was going on with Junior. But Vince, Big Vince, he was the man. And he would always call me aside and say, Sal, one day I'm not going to be here no more. And I'm going to need you to take care of my little boy Vinny. And I did what he said. In fact, on his deathbed, those were his last words. Don't let Vinny screw this up. And I did what I could to try and keep things clean. I'm going to tell you a little story about what happened back in those days, back when young Vinny was just trying to take over. Young Vinny Jr. He had this fella coming in named Terry Bollea. Terry Bollea made a little bit of a name for himself. But they was bringing him in, and Vinny had this funny idea where he was going to kind of make him like the biggest guy in the whole company. I said, what are you going to call him? Terry Bollea ain't going to float. He says, Sal, I was going to call him Hogan. I says, that last name or first name? He says, last name. I said, what's his first name going to be? He says, Hanky Hogan. I says, Hanky, what the hell's a hanky? And Vince, he looks all uncomfortable, puts his hands in his pockets, and he goes, yeah, hanky, kind of like hanky-panky. He's going to be a ladies' man. Now, keep in mind, this is back when Hulk Hogan had hair, not like a few years later where it looked like a rat has chewed his hairline down to a nub. In fact, looking back now, considering the naughty little sex tape that came out later, maybe hanky-panky wasn't a bad name for Hanky Hogan. But I took him aside and I said, look, Vince, a hanky ain't nothing you call a tough wrestler. Hanky's what you put snot in. Is this what we're going to do with this guy? We're going to put snot in him, lay him out in the middle of the ring? Vince kind of puts his head down and goes, no, maybe not, Sal. I says, look, you call him Hulk, like freaking Lou Ferrigno. You seen Lou Ferrigno? The guy's the size of a refrigerator. Then he kind of looks around and goes, yeah, maybe that's not a bad idea. He goes, it's a bit of a problem, though. And I said, what is that? And he goes, well, I had this idea where I was going to kind of build this really big show, the biggest wrestling show ever done. And I was going to tie his name into the show. And I said, well, what do you mean by that, Vinny? What are you talking about? Well, I was going to kind of broadcast it all over the country. It was going to be like the biggest wrestling show ever. And I was going to call it Wrestle Frassle. I says, Vinny, what are you, a ding-dong? What the hell's a frassle? Vinny kind of looks down again. Like maybe he'd done something in his shorts he was ashamed of. I said, Vinny, I don't know what a frassle is, but it sounds like something that a lady uses to put up her hair. Like you might say, hey, honey, go put your hair up in a frassle. I'm taking you out for linguine and clams. Vinny kind of goes, yeah, I guess it is kind of stupid. I said, you know what? You don't call it Hank. You don't call it Wrestle Frassle. You call it WrestleMania. Like Maniac. You know, like that girl, whatever her name, in Flashdance who poured water all over her bazooms. Like Mania. People getting crazy. He goes, oh, no, that sounds good. I said, so you call it WrestleMania? You call it Hulkamania? You tie the two things together? And Vince goes, oh, that's a good idea, Sal. Because I was going to call it Wrestle Frassle, and then I was going to call it Hanky Frassle. Hanky Frassle running wild at Wrestle Frassle. I said, what are you, Vince? Are you a ding-dong? And he gives me that look, like a puppy that didn't quite make it back to the back, right, like a puppy that didn't quite make it to the back door before doing his business on the kitchen floor. He looks me in the eye for a moment. He says, yes, Sal, I'm just a ding-dong. So thanks to me, you got Hulkamania running wild at WrestleMania, not Hanky Frassle running in circles at Wrestle Frassle. I'm Salvatore Bellomo, folks, and that is true wrestling history. God bless you, your mother, your father, your wife, your kids, any relatives you may have visiting from out of town. God bless them too, and God bless you and your newly healed wiener, Lord Alfred Hayes.
Oh, goodness Lord. That was Salvatore Bellomo, talented new upstart, a youngster. And thank you very much, Salvatore, for that, and also for sending me that polysporin in the snail mail. I'm Lord Alfred Hayes.
Wow. That's going to get up off the ground here. I was just sitting cross-legged listening to the story. That was quite the introduction to this week's episode of Vintage Update. Shotgun Shan, my homie, what's up?
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Not bad. You just got in the door, did you?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I was hanging around backstage before the show and actually just having these great conversations with Salvatore Bellomo, who I had no idea had so much information about what had gone on in wrestling before. I was kind of not prepared. I got all caught up in what was going on. I'm not prepared for the show, but it looks like there's stuff to talk about. I mean, there's stuff coming up, man.
I would have to say this has been the most low-rent top mix for WWE in quite some time. I feel as though there are certain things they're trying, and you got to applaud them for trying. But again, let's not jump the gun with what I think. The people want to know, what do you think?
Well, I guess, yeah, when you mention it, like when you really put it like that, if you look at the guys they've got in the top mix, they've got a guy that's not as over as they wish. And I don't know if you heard it, but poor old Roman was getting booed at Raw this week again. And there's reasons for that we'll get into after. You've got Sheamus and his band of misfits that, other than Del Rio, I don't fully, it's not that I don't like it. I guess we run into this kind of quandary now, don't we? Where we're like, oh, you need to push guys, you need to give guys something better to do, and you need to do this, blah, 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 blah. And they finally have. They've just picked kind of a weird segment of guys. I'm certainly glad to see Barrett doing something. I'm glad to see Rusev being involved in something. I think Del Rio gets pulled down into a bit of mediocrity by being associated with those guys, but I guess you can't really complain that much. What do you think about Sheamus right now? I mean, and we're just going to start with the low expectation of what you would expect from Sheamus. I think he is certainly improving with this new gimmick. That doesn't say that he's at a level that he should be dominating the top end of the roster. What do you think?
There are people that will listen to this show and they'll think I'm a dick, and they're right in a lot of ways. But they don't realize I'm a much bigger dick in the Facebook messages than I am on the air. And I really took Shotgun Shan, and I like to bring these into the actual broadcast now because I think it's interesting to give people the, behind the scenes on this show. A lot of the content for these shows are conversations that start days before on Facebook, and a thread between myself and Shan and Sean for the most part. And sometimes Ernest Matthews also gets in on that. But the one thing I really took you to task on this time, buddy, was when you said, and I'm pretty sure this is a direct quote, Sheamus is improving. It's not a lot, but just enough to be noticeable. And my reaction when I read that was, Shotgun Shan, they gave him the world title. They gave him the top heel spot. And all he can do is be just a little bit just enough to be noticeable.
Look, he's not the guy.
Exactly. Okay. Now that we've come to that conclusion. He's not the guy.
He's not anywhere near the guy. He's not the guy behind the guy or the guy behind the guy behind the guy. He is a placeholder for now while they try to figure out what they're doing. There are many, many other options we've discussed every time we've gone into a pay-per-view when I said, they're gonna turn Dean, they're gonna turn Roman, they're gonna do something, they're gonna make this interesting. They've chosen not to do any of that and instead given us Sheamus as a world champion. I'm not, and again, I mean, I want to defend those comments. I am not saying that he is deserving of where he is, but all I'm saying is that in probably the last 4 years of kind of rolling my eyes anytime Sheamus was on TV because he was so irrelevant and uninteresting, I certainly have enjoyed him having his own little stable and his little, speeches where he's kind of cocky and whatever. I think it's an improvement. He should not be where he is. And who should be where he is? I mean, I guess we talk about that right now. If they've decided it's not time for Roman, who should be in that role? I mean, I'd love to see Owens in there, but I feel like it might be a bit early.
Too early for Owens, but not for Sheamus?
Well, no.
This is where I have a problem because I think the people that can get reactions, whether it be through their matches or through their promos, in the case of Kevin Owens, both, right? The guy is the perfect performer in that way. He may not look perfect. He may not have the look that you are looking for when you're WWE or Vince McMahon. The bottom line is, if you put him in a promo, the guy's going to deliver. Not just a little bit, enough to be noticeable when you hand him the world title in the top heel spot. He's going to take that ball and he's going to run with it. We have seen what Sheamus, I feel, we have seen the best of Sheamus.
I agree with you there
100%.
100%.
And you know what? The best of Sheamus may have been in the last 2 weeks. You're right about that. I think he has been more compelling as a character in the last 2 weeks than ever, except for maybe when he first came in. But this is where you sort of have to have the argument of when he first came in, he was a world beater. Mm-hmm. This guy ain't a world beater. This guy is such a low rent. He's like, honestly, Shan, would you argue with me saying he may be the 5th hottest heel in WWE? I'm just giving you a number. I'm giving you a number, and I may be even generous there.
Yeah, I think you might even be generous, but yeah.
Right. And that's how it feels on TV. It brings the title down. It brings anybody he's working with down. This guy is the leader of a faction. And in WWE, it's like they look at these things from the past and they think, well, okay, this worked in the past. Let's bring it into the future. So I don't know, maybe they're thinking 4 horsemen or something. I mean, there's been a million factions. It's usually been about 4 guys. Here's the difference. The lead guy is a main eventer. The lead guy is a star. The lead guy is over as a heel or as a babyface regarding, usually a heel because that's what, factions mostly are.
Yeah.
So it's like you have a guy that's maybe 5th most over heel, and he's the leader of these dorks.
And it's funny too because, I mean, if you didn't know, if you just kind of been gone for the past 6 months and somebody showed you those 4 guys and said, who's the leader of this group? I mean, I wouldn't pick Sheamus.
No, you wouldn't.
You wouldn't. I'd be like, oh, Del Rio. It's Del Rio.
For sure.
No,
and he should have been. He should have been the guy that they chose. And again, the problem is not that faction. The problem is not any particular one angle on the show. The problem is that they're lost They're lost. They don't know what they're doing. Yeah. They put Del Rio and Zeb together, and they're already going to break them up. They already did break them up. Yeah. That quickly. They just said, okay, fuck it. For God's sakes. Shall we get into Charlotte and Paige?
Why not?
Okay. We talk on this show, and we've talked in person, and it's been a conversation that we've had over the years a lot. And we recently made the parallel with New Japan, how they're doing it so well in terms of not having a rigid baby face and heel side, but just a bunch of guys, and certain guys like, say, Nakamura or most of the Chaos guys they just are in the middle. But they're over. Their shit is heated. When they're in a match, people care, and they're into it. WWE, their version, and this seems to be a shift now that they're saying, you know what, actually, things are too rigid with babyface and heel. We need to kind of have a shade of gray. Here's the shade of gray on Charlotte and Paige. There's no heat.
Yeah.
They changed it already. How am I supposed to hate Charlotte? I think she's a better heel than a face, but how, storyline-wise, creative-wise, 30 goddamn writers on a team-wise, why am I supposed to hate Charlotte, who just had Paige come out and make fun of her about her brother overdosing? Where is the heat there? Why am I mad at Charlotte?
Not even where's the heat, where's the logic? I mean, there is no logic. It really does seem like, honestly, because they've got so many writers, that everyone's writing something down, they're throwing on a piece of paper, they're throwing them all in the air, seeing where they land, and trying to create a storyline out of it. It's very fragmented, and as you said, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't follow any kind of logical flow, and it has to. I mean, I know you always hear the stories about Vince going, our fans don't remember this from blah, 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 they just want to be entertained. I don't believe that that's true at all. I believe that you still need to be able to rationalize it, your heel and your basic heel and face motivations. You need to be able to rationalize them, no matter how into the product you are at any given time. It just kind of makes sense. So they've kind of thrown that out the window as of late, and they're getting very, very muddy, and I think very clumsy and sloppy in their storytelling.
Well, you know what, too, is funny about this? I was listening to Dave Meltzer on Monday on Wrestling Observer Radio, and I don't plug a lot of podcasts, on our show, because I think the whole goal of having a show, it's not like on Raw they're saying, watch TNA, but you know what, you got to put over Dave. And he completely opened the door. I mean, everybody else was still doing kayfabe journalism at that time. He was the first guy to come and really open the door and risk his life, because it was a life or death thing in those days for a lot of those wrestlers. You talk to an old timer, I mean, they want to kill Dave. But I mean, he was talking a lot about Charlotte and Paige, and the reason this happened, according to Dave and his many sources within WWE who can't wait to text him anything that happens, they turned Charlotte, or are in the process of turning Charlotte, because following that angle where they brought up Reed, she got booed. She got booed maybe in one or two places. They got so worried about that they said, oh my God, they're starting to turn on Charlotte. We have to be ahead of the curve and turn her heel. Does this sound familiar to you?
Oh my God. That is ridiculous.
And they completely jumped the gun on this. It was nowhere near time. They were completely tone deaf, but they heard a few crowds that booed her. I don't know why the crowds necessarily turned on her other than, I don't know. I don't understand it. But they took it as, oh my God, the crowd's turning on Charlotte. They didn't like this angle, and we got to be ahead of the curve and turn her heel. And again, another brilliant idea to turn her heel and get her heel heat. Let's put an all-time great, a legend, her father. Let's put him there as her manager. That'll get heat.
A guy who pretty much can't get booed no matter what he does because of the level of respect and the level of, the reverence that people have for him. Yeah, that's oh, that's terrible.
So this is a mess. Again, they're lost at sea. I'm going to say something, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way. It's not about you, but it's about somebody you like. And I don't want you to take it the wrong way. The thing with our podcast that we need to keep in mind, we can't always protect the people we love and bury the people we hate and expose them.
I agree.
If Jerry Lawler, for whatever goddamn reason, some miraculous, divine intervention comes out and does a good job on Raw, I expect you to say he did a good job even though you hate him. However, I have to say something. I love Kofi Kingston, I love Big E Langston, and I love Xavier Woods. I love the New Day. I do feel as though they've been the most fun thing on these shows for months and months now. They've been around almost a year, but I guess that, it started in the early stages of them being a babyface act. So this thing, you probably say maybe at least 6 months of this kind of incarnation.
Yeah.
The classic WWE, what's happened with the New Day. They have something that works. They have something that the crowd likes. They have something that's hot, and they overdo it.
You won't get any argument from me on that.
They
You
overexpose these guys.
How many segments did they have on Monday? Was it 4? I'm pretty sure they were in 4 segments.
Last week it was 5.
Yeah. They've taken something that's hot and they're just milking everything they can out of it. And I mean, look, I'm going to say this. The process of it is a very bad idea. I think that those 3 guys are still doing an admirable job with having to develop that much material for each show. But it is not only is it lacking, but it sticks out like a sore thumb now, because it's like, what, New Day again? And they kind of come out and they struggle through, far more material than they should be doing. And yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you on not only just the principle, but on the actual fact that yes, they are completely overexposing these guys. But their writing and their pacing is off for everything. What did you think of the Roman Reigns promo with Sheamus outside the ring? It went on forever, and Roman was struggling. You could tell he was struggling. And I absolutely hate the way that he'll pick a nickname for someone and keep calling him Tater Tot. And do you remember when he did that with Randy Orton? Kept calling him Cupcake, and after a while it wasn't funny anymore, but he kept doing it. I don't think it's his fault. I think they've just kind of thrown him in the water and hope that he can kind of struggle his way through it. But yeah, I mean, it's that same issue. It's the same pacing issue and the same kind of. We don't need to see that much Roman Reigns, and we certainly need to see more New Day than Roman Reigns. But I mean, both of them are just getting way overused, and they're getting too much screen time.
Oh my God, this week, I mean, you brought up at the beginning of the show that the fans kind of had turned on Roman. Even worse than that, in that final segment, you could hear a pin drop.
I know.
And not because the fans were sitting there, Japanese style, so intent on what was going on and listening really closely. I mean, the fans were done. They had thrown in the towel. And I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but again, Uncle Dave, had said that he got a lot of feedback from people in the audience that were in attendance that night, saying these people left before the last segment. These people are, like, there was lots of empty seats. This is no longer something that people can say, oh, it's the fans. Oh, the fans are just spoiled. The fans are just fickle. The fans are this. The fans are that. WWE's great. WWE's doing great. It's doing great business, and the fans are just entitled. Because that's the narrative that gets told a lot. I was very pleased to read Triple H's quote today, because I think admitting you have a problem is the first step to recovery. And I don't see Vince coming out and making these comments. Have you read what he said yet?
I did read through some of it. I didn't read the whole thing. I had to skim it. I saw it just before we came on the air.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Just think of everything we've said in the last, how long we've been on the air? Just about maybe a half hour. And then this is what Triple H had to say today. Yeah, this was on Raw being 3 hours long and dealing with the fans' frustrations, okay? This is a quote from Paul Levesque, a.k.a. Triple H. We just have to become more disciplined and more creative with how we do things and how we operate these shows. We've had some unfortunate situations with injuries and everything else. It's on us to be more creative and come up with a better format, a better show. We hear people's frustrations and in a lot of ways feel the same way. We're fixing it and trying to fix it. It is what it is. How we fix it, we're not 100% sure yet, but we'll get there. Trust me. That's, again, a quote from Triple H today. Today being Thursday, the 10th of December, when we recorded this podcast. We put this one in the can a little bit early. But Shan, I mean, at least he's admitting it. He's not trying to duck and dodge that one.
Well, I mean, my respect for Triple H and my faith in him has improved as I've watched the NXT product, which I'd like to talk to you about a little later too. Yeah. He seems to have a level of humility and a level of openness that Vince has never had. And that is certainly encouraging. I mean, you can't go back from that, right? I mean, once you've acknowledged that there's a problem, there's a problem, you're trying to fix it. You can't just leave it exactly the same and go, oh, well, it turned out we didn't have to fix it. It was perfect. They're going to have to do something now. What they choose to do, I certainly hope has something to do with reshuffling that top mix, but I don't know if I need to get my hopes up that much.
Yeah, but sorry, back to Roman in that final segment. I mean, there was just complete, not only was there indifference to Roman, there was indifference to Sheamus and the entire thing. And it just seemed to be like it was taking place in a vacuum, that last segment. The crowd was so out of it, so disconnected. Can you remember, Shan, a go-home Raw where the final segment involving the two quote-unquote top guys in the company was met with such indifference.
No. I'm trying to think of a time when things were that low, but I don't. No, I don't think so. I think that really stood out as kind of a real low point, which isn't the way you want to end the year either.
No. And again, like, it's not like there wasn't some good things on the show. I thought Kevin and Dolph were having a great match.
God. That was...
Like, they were really having a great match where you felt like, okay, this is where it has to sort of go into overdrive, or we're at that point, like, we're at the peak of this match. And then it went for like another 7 minutes or something.
Yeah.
You know, they really lost the crowd there in the end, although they weren't with it much anyway. But it just felt like by the end, there wasn't a lot that happened in the last 7 minutes. And then it just kind of, okay, the ref's like, okay, Kevin, we're good, go to the finish. It just felt like they may have added some time to that match.
Yeah, I think they may have. And they were a little bit distracted. I mean, I'm liking that Tyler Breeze is involved in this. I think Tyler needs it. I really like Tyler. After watching Breaking Ground, I like him even more. I do agree with you. And I think the pacing for the whole show was off. I mean, you could just tell if you sit. I didn't fast forward as much this time, which is funny because I don't think that the show warranted me to avoid the fast forward button. But for whatever reason, I just kind of left it running, and there were so many weird little lulls or valleys in the show where things just seemed off. So I hope that that's going to be fixed going forward. But I don't know if that's a creative problem or what it is.
Mm-hmm. Alberto and Swagger is a match coming up at TLC.
You know what I love about that? We've never seen it before. Oh, wait, we have.
Only thing is, Swagger was like taken more seriously then.
Swagger was not scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Now, is this just going to be that he beat, Zeb comes out or something and Alberto beats up Zeb and then Jack saves Zeb and they're back together? Is that all this is? Who
knows? Well, why would you waste that pay-per-view time on that? It's completely irrelevant.
I really don't know. ECW 2016. Shan, what are you thinking so far of the ECW invasion?
Well, I'll give my respect to the people involved.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think that they should be taken seriously as a threat to the Wyatts. The Wyatts have been taking quite a kicking lately, and they still come off well. But I mean, if they don't stop devaluing these guys, I don't know what you can do. I mean, luckily they've been kind of rolling over these guys for the most part, but the Wyatts should be just a massive force. They should be the top. I mean, Bray Wyatt, when you talk about your hottest heels, Bray Wyatt should be the top hottest heel, at least one or two. I mean, so it is, it's a bit frustrating to watch them languish with them in a nostalgia act, but I mean, I respect the ECW guys too much to complain too much.
I thought it was so hilarious on Raw when they had that opening match, which was all fine and good. But they did the spot where everybody powders and then it's Roman and Rhino. And yet another moment when you could just hear a pin drop. They had set this thing up to be this big, it's going to be the Gore versus the Spear.
Yeah.
What's going to happen here? And everyone just kind of looked at the person beside them and was like, are they fucking serious with this? It was just such an awkward, sad moment. And there were a lot of awkward, sad moments on this particular edition of Raw. Again, a go-home show for TLC. Again, this show on paper, I don't think is going to be a bad show. Like, wrestling-wise, I really don't. Dreamer and Rhino and the Dudleys versus the Wyatts. Again, Wyatts have no business being this low on the card right now. But they are. And I think it'll be fine. I think if they could have a little wild, get wild with things, which I'm sure they will, do the extreme stuff. We don't see that a lot anymore. So again, it's something different on the card and that's cool. And the Wyatts have proven they can brawl. So again, I don't really have a problem with the match as much as I have a problem with the positioning of the Wyatts. Because again, you look at these guys and they should be beating everybody on the roster. They should be an unstoppable force, and they are anything but right now. In fact, I think they were the first team eliminated on that match, weren't they?
Were they? I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Wyatts were the first team eliminated in that match on Monday that started the show.
That's dreadful.
Again, Alberto and Swagger, we talked about that match, and it's going to be a match, and if Alberto doesn't win, I'd be very surprised. They've dropped the ball big time with this guy. And now it's just so weird to me. It's so weird after what I've seen over the last year with Alberto in ROH, with Alberto particularly on Lucha Underground, where he just came off like the biggest star in wrestling and easily for the Hispanic demographic, this is your guy. And then they bring him back to WWE. They put him with Zeb as his mouthpiece, and then they put Sheamus as his mouthpiece. It's so weird, man. This guy was great. He can talk. He's got the look. He's got the work. He's got the fire. You know, I think he should be like a babyface world champion in the company. But that's not happening right now, and I guess I'll just have to be patient on that one. Again, New Days versus Usos and the Luchas should be great.
Oh, and a TLC. I mean, come on. There's 3 really cool teams involved there, and I think that they've changed the style of those matches. It's not the car crashes that it used to be with the Dudleys and the Hardys and Edge and Christian, because I think they're just a little bit more concerned about the injuries coming out of it. But there's certainly a huge amount of innovation, and having the New Day be a 3-man team, I think we're going to see some really creative stuff come out of that too.
Absolutely. I really have the way I feel about New Day right now. It reminds me so much about 1998 DX, where it started as this thing that was really cool. It might have had 2 segments a show, or just maybe 3 segments, but again, it was short stuff. They weren't overexposed. And then they got hot, and then they were on every segment, and they became way too goofy. And to me, the New Day has become way too goofy with the unicorn stuff. I think you need to straddle that line of being fun and entertaining and silly, but also being bad when you have to be. And I think they've really not really done that with the New Day at all. They're like the mischievous little puppy dog that runs alongside the League of Nations.
Yeah, they're hardly a heel team anymore.
Exactly.
Really. I mean,
exactly.
They may be fighting faces, but yeah, they're hardly a heel team anymore. They certainly don't carry themselves, and they certainly don't fit in that position in the product anymore either, just because they're so popular. But I think turning them face could be a disaster too. So
right, but don't you feel like they're kind of just a joke now? Like, we love them, they're entertaining and all that, but in terms of their spot on the card, they're kind of they're comedic relief when they could be a lot more.
It was awesome. I think it was just a few weeks ago where they laid everybody out at the end of the show on the show. Yeah, I thought that was the right way to go with them, because they're still entertaining and funny, but kind of in a snarky way. Like right now, the audience is a little too in on it. They're all kind of buddy with the audience to some extent, and I love the fact that they're having fun, but it kind of deactivates a bit of their heel persona when you do that.
Yeah, and it really feels like, because they've been overexposed, I mean, they've cooled off. Like, the crowd's not reacting to them the same way anymore. It's last few weeks, you can tell every week a little less, okay, all right, we get it. And again, it's on a 3-hour show. It is the most entertaining thing on the show, but for their longevity, this is going to get burnt out. They need to slow down with this thing.
Yeah.
And make them more serious. There has to be times when they're serious, and then there can be when they're having fun and they're making fun of people and whatever. That's fine. But to me, just way too much funny right now, and not enough of the other side of the New Day, which they do need to have, I think, for them to be anything other than a comedy act. Okay, so just quickly, I'll get predictions on those matches I just mentioned. Wyatt's versus Dreamer, Rhino, Dudley's. What do you think?
It better be Wyatt's.
Yeah, it damn well better be Wyatt's.
Yeah, I would hope.
Or if it ain't the Wyatts, we riots, okay? Alberto versus Swagger.
Well, goodness sakes. If it's not Alberto, then he might as well go home.
Sheamus just won the world title, dude. They could have Swagger eyed for the U.S.
Oh.
And everybody that's cold, let's just put a belt on them. Charlotte versus Paige.
Charlotte, I would assume. I don't think they would turn her heel and then just then just make her irrelevant. So yeah.
Turn her heel and also make Paige completely unlikable. That's gonna be fun. They'll just hate the whole match. New Day, Usos, and Luchas. Who do we pick for that one?
I would hope New Day. I think the extra man advantage is gonna make it, their match.
I could see the Usos come out of this, though. There's this part of me that thinks that could happen. But again, in a 3-way, do you really want to do that?
Yeah.
I think it's best to keep it on the New Day, especially with the League of Nations and them having the association, which I'm totally fine with. I just don't really like that they're the joke of the group kind of thing. Owens versus Ambrose will be the next match that we talk about. There's been a lot of talk before we get into just sort of the predictions for the match or how good the match will be, which it will. The talk right now, this was as of Survivor Series morning. The WWE tore up their script that they had for WrestleMania in terms of the top matches that they had slated. They basically blew up the whole shit, except for one that it looks like it's still going to go through, which is John Cena versus The Undertaker.
Ugh.
But, hey, Shan, at the very least, yeah, I mean, it is a fresh match. That's
true.
At the very least, it's a match that hasn't happened in 10 years.
That's
so
true.
At least that's something. But yeah, I hear you. I mean, but that's what they want to do. They've talked about that for a few years. It's never happened at WrestleMania. I think it's pretty much a lock. It will. I don't know how you get there, but it probably just like all other Undertaker, feuds. Just, I want to fight you at WrestleMania. That's all the Undertaker feuds are anymore.
Yeah.
But anyways, Owens, it was said, is now being positioned to go into a match at WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar. When you look at that and knowing that, now of course things can still change, but for God's sakes, we gotta settle on something. So I don't think these will change too many more times, barring injury. So Owens versus Ambrose, I mean, it really could be a nice stepping stone for Owens, but unfortunately it comes at Ambrose's expense.
This is true.
Ambrose is looked at as the stepping stone to Lesnar.
Yeah, but you could free up the U.S. title by putting it on Ambrose. They do a nice long feud that sort of
IC title, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, IC title. Yeah, because I don't think that Ambrose or that Owens needs to be the champ heading into his match with Lesnar. That match sells itself.
Sure.
So, and I think Owens is in a position now where he could lose, to Ambrose, which is nothing to be ashamed of. Still put on a strong show, come out of it crazy or angry or blah, 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 get in Brock's face and lead to this. What happens at WrestleMania, I don't know. I mean, you and Sean and I have talked about the fact that Sean felt that Owens needs to win, and I said I don't necessarily think he does need to win against Brock because Brock's really, even though he's a temporary guy, really the top guy in a lot of ways.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
And so, I mean, losing to the top guy at your very first WrestleMania is not something you need to worry about.
Oh, no, that's huge for Owens. That's huge for Owens.
Yeah. Being in the match at all, he's pretty much made his first WrestleMania special.
Right, and also fans need to also remember that it's not always, and this is more to New Japan than it is to WWE because New Japan does this and WWE tends to not. But if this is their very first match and the plan is for them to have more, then you have to think of this as a long-term story.
Yeah.
And if the long-term story is that Owens wins the first one and then Brock squashes, and that's not a good long-term story for the future of the company.
Yeah.
It should be Owens has the big match, gets put in the big position. Probably will be the best damn match on that show. I don't see anything touching that, I'll be honest. I don't think there's any combination you can put on, WrestleMania that will be more intriguing than Owens and Lesnar. But, I mean, it's huge pub, and if he loses the first match, again, there's always another match down the road, and hopefully maybe another WrestleMania match down the road. So if it's that damn good, they're going to do it again.
I agree.
Let's hope it's not like Owens' other matches that when he first came in and they just do them all back to back to back to back. Because I thought that was pretty stupid.
I agree.
But anyway, yeah, I'm assuming Owens wins, but you're right. You could free up the IC title by putting it on Ambrose. I mean, I don't see Brock and Owens being for the belt.
See, Owens is a cool enough character that an Owens that loses a close match can come out just as hot as an Owens that wins.
Right.
Owens that loses a close match comes out more angry, more destructive. I mean, he's already said he's a prize fighter. So he isn't one of these guys that's motivated by some artificial idea about being the best or this or that. He wants to win because he wants to take the prize. He wants the money. He wants, I prefer characters like that because I think it kind of frees you up as far as what they're going to do next. So you really could have Owens come out of that just kind of crazy, getting Brock's face, start a little thing with him, maybe jump him from behind, and it just becomes a whole. You could build that without an awful lot of other stuff going on. So I don't care who wins this match as long as it's good.
Roman versus Sheamus. This is a bit of a confusing one, really, for me in terms of where they go on this. I'm assuming Roman doesn't win because it's kind of a nothing pay-per-view. But I don't know. What do you think?
It's a nothing pay-per-view, but then does he win at the Rumble or does he hold on until WrestleMania? If he does, it's not going to be Roman and Sheamus at WrestleMania, I would hope. Then again, if Roman beats Sheamus at Royal Rumble, someone else wins the Rumble to challenge Roman. I don't know. Maybe they're going to do something different here.
I think they are, man. I personally do not think Roman is going to be facing the world champion at WrestleMania anymore because the match that they have slated for him, like I said, Survivor Series morning is Triple H. So I don't see that being for the world title. I really don't.
I certainly hope not. Yeah.
I think they're not going with Roman with the title right now. As much as he is the project, I don't think they're going to do it. I'm trying to think which of those three matches, though, will be a world title match. Owens versus Lesnar, Roman versus H, or Cena versus Undertaker. I think the one that is probably the most likely is going to be Cena as world champion facing Undertaker. It's going to be world title versus career. And that's your big WrestleMania match. And it's going to be the last match of Undertaker's career, and it's going to be the main event. And may not be the best match, but I do think, like, there's something there at least, and it is a fresh match. But
it is a fresh match, but again, like, how I feel about things being passed on. And, I always look at it as resources. I'm saying right now you've got a legend, and he needs to go out. If he needs to go out, he needs to hand it off to somebody so that final match can mean something for the kind of like planting a seed for the future. Losing your final match, having John Cena retire you does nothing for John Cena. I'm sorry. People are probably going to hate him even more for doing it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm all right with that, I guess. When I heard that, I felt desperate. When I heard that those two were going to be on the match, it felt desperate, and it also felt like a waste. I really would like to see Undertaker's last match be with somebody who could prosper from it and have it always be in their back pocket as one of those things you could say, the guy who retired The Undertaker. They're never going to say that about John Cena,
No. You could do the thing of Brock beating Sheamus sometime between now and Mania and having it be Brock and Owens, have Owens win the Rumble.
Brock and Owens for a title would be fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think you can rule it out right now. I don't know what is going to happen at WrestleMania. So that's the pay-per-view. And Shan, I know you're not an MMA guy. I know that. And that's great. And I'm really not either. I'm a very casual fan of MMA. But they are trying to turn Sheamus into Conor McGregor. And Shan, you need to go online and you need to Google Conor McGregor promo. That's your homework for the next show. And then you can report to us back of how Conor McGregor differs from Sheamus, because now Sheamus has got the slicked back hair. He's got the suit now, and seems to be like all funny and trying to be all witty and everything like that. So I want you to tell me the differences between Sheamus and Conor McGregor, because that is clearly the inspiration of what they're trying to do with this guy. Two Irishmen, that's where the similarities end, but I want you to report back with that.
I will. I will be ready for the next show.
Any Conor McGregor promo, pretty much, you can just anyone, and then sort of you'll get the gist of what he's about, and that's that. So anyways, we just got a few more minutes here before we split, and I always like to interject and drop a little bit of non-WWE talk, and some of the things that you can get excited about. Unfortunately, this is not something to get excited about. A serious injury that is not only affecting Ring of Honor on a big level, not only affecting New Japan on a big level, but is affecting the happiness of people working for Wrestling Audio Revolution. In particular, yourself, me, and Sean Cunningham. AJ Styles, Shan, the man is injured. The last I heard, it is being suspected that is a herniated disc in his back. And he did miss the Tag League tournament, which I think he did the first 2 or 3 matches. And when you go back and watch him, I mean, it's pretty amazing. It was a lot like Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, 14, except Shawn was completely pilled out of his mind. But, AJ is hurt, Shan. There's not been any official announcement regarding his 2 big matches coming up. One against Jay Lethal for the ROH title. The other one on January 4th, which is less than a month away now, at the Tokyo Dome against Shinsuke Nakamura in a dream match. And my God, what is going on right now in the world of wrestling with all of the best guys getting injured?
I don't know, man. Maybe it's there's a divine plan here to keep pushing these top guys out so that these new talent can move up. I don't know, but it's disturbing and it's frustrating.
Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, Kota Ibushi, AJ Styles. These are some of the best wrestlers in the world.
I know. It's
all going down.
I know, and in each respective team, it throws so much out of balance when you've got a guy who is usually guys that are cemented in the top mix, and when you take one of those guys that's sort of a foundation, character, take him out, you really have to kind of struggle to put somebody else in that place quickly. So I don't know. I mean, so the latest word is that AJ won't be at Tokyo Dome.
They're not saying anything on either side right now. I think everybody's just holding on to hope. In all fairness, the Lethal match is a dream match too. That's a match I think we've wanted to see for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are just 2 fresh dream matches that are in jeopardy right now. I know on the New Japan website, they are still listing AJ versus Shinsuke at Tokyo Dome on January the 4th. But, I mean, I think they're just holding their breath. They're just crossing their fingers. He is rehabbing right now. Hopefully it's not as bad as he thinks it is, but it's pretty sad. It's a pretty sad situation that we may not be getting that match. The Tokyo Dome show is going to be awesome. It always is. AJ versus Nakamura was like the really fresh, anticipated match. And you take that off the show, I mean, it hurt. It does hurt. I won't act like it doesn't hurt the show.
If he's not there, if AJ does not make it, who do you throw in his place?
This is where Gato is pulling out his beard because he doesn't have any hair on his head. Because
what about Jay Lethal?
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up, or I probably would have forgotten because we're kind of short on time. We got 10 minutes left before we're going to head out of here. Jay Lethal will be at Wrestle Kingdom. They have started an angle on ROH TV. Michael Elgin, and they're starting to bring this into ROH storylines now. Michael Elgin has caught on fire in Japan. The Japanese love him. They love a big, strong, white power wrestler that can go, and he's that guy. I mean, he's the Dr. Death of right now in Japan. And it's all happened very fast. In fact, in the Tag League, which I'm not finished yet, folks. I'm sorry. I would love to talk about the Tag League. We'll have to wait till the Christmas show for that because I haven't watched the last 2 shows yet. I'm going to do that this weekend. It should be a lot of fun just to sit down and watch them. But I've been avoiding spoilers. I don't know who won the G1 Tag League. It's been all right. It hasn't been an awesome tournament or anything, but it's been fun. What I like is that they put everybody in it. I mean, Nakamura and Ishii are a team in there. Okada and Yoshihashi are in there. Daniels and Kazarian are in there. And Tanahashi's partner in the Tag League is Michael Elgin. So yeah, Elgin is getting the rub as being Tanahashi's partner in the Tag League, which is kind of crazy. But they've set this up on TV where Michael Elgin's going to get a world title shot, and he's saying, I want to do it in Japan. So he is going to be facing Jay Lethal at the Tokyo Dome on January 4th as part of Wrestle Kingdom 10.
That's a shame because, I was thinking if you had to throw someone in to replace AJ, Lethal would probably make. Not for an epic match historically, but I still think he would be able to give you that special match.
That would be a great choice. Especially because he would have been an outsider that wasn't necessarily factored in. But he is factored in this year. This is going to be his debut, his first Tokyo Dome show. I think it's his first New Japan show, but I'm not totally sure about that. I think he actually went over there when the TNA relationship was happening and stuff.
So who is it that fits that bill? Cheeseburger? Brutal Ball?
Honestly, my first thought was Naito. I thought Naito was like the best choice as somebody to put in as a substitute because you're still going to get a killer match. You got a killer character, and he's over. Great heel. There's other people you could bring in. One person I've heard people mention is Minoru Suzuki because he's been over in Noah, sending a lot of their talent over there, and New Japan is pretty much pulling the strings of Noah right now. And Minoru Suzuki has been off New Japan shows. He's been down in Noah as the world champion. But again, it kind of screws up their thing because he's their champion, and then you're going to bring him in and put him against Nakamura, and is he going to win the IC belt, or is he going to have to job? It's Japan, too, and they like to protect their guys, which is something we don't do here. So I mean, Suzuki and Nakamura at Tokyo Dome is great. That's a great match, and that's a match I think people will get into. But again, it kind of screws things up, so it's a tough one. TLC is coming up Sunday night. Who knows what'll happen? Who knows what'll happen with Roman? Who knows what'll happen with Owens? Or Charlotte or Paige? God only knows. But we do know we will be here next week. The Christmas show begins, the 3rd annual. And Shotgun Shan, it's been a pleasure, as always, doing business with you.
And with you too, buddy. I'm getting my lampshade hat ready for next week. I'm going to decorate it up nice this year. And I may even just show up with the damn thing on. I'm not going to just put it on partway through. I'm going to be ready to go.
And Shan is going to watch a Conor McGregor promo, doesn't matter how long it is, and he is going to report back to us on how he compares with Sheamus, who, is clearly inspired by Conor McGregor with his new look and persona. So we're going to compare, we're going to contrast. Should be very interesting. But for myself, from Shotgun Sham, we want to say peace, love, wrestling audio revolution. Promotional consideration is paid for by the following. And Salvatore Bellomo, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, listen, Lord Alfred, I'm just thankful, and I'm giving my prayers to God in thanks that your wiener's healed. I think you may remember back in the old days, you used to swing that thing around in the locker room. I know there more than one occasion it got caught in a locker door. I hope this wasn't as serious as that.